The grueling desert isn't the kind of place just anyone can survive. It takes skill, determination, willpower, and if you are living in the Wasteland, the Desert Rangers. Wasteland is a post-apocalyptic DOS game that has been revamped for your current enjoyment and rage-inducing fits. Originally released in 1988, Wasteland is the predecessor for most, if not all, post-apocalyptic RPG games. The story itself is phenomenal. The lore built into the game adds all the depth you would find in your average apocalypse survival game now. It speaks to my Dungeons & Dragons loving heart, and you can tell how much thought, love, and dedication went into this, unlike some other games in the same genre that won't be named. You play as a group of desert rangers who act as vigilante lawmen during the end of the world, doing what's right and keeping evildoers in line. Lately, your party has been hearing about odd goings-ons around the Wasteland, and after much strategizing and discussion, you decide to start investigating in 3 local areas: High Pool, the Agricultural Center, and the Rail Nomads Camp. Being that this game was released in 1988, it came with a few added pieces that we don't have the physical luxury of. Specifically the Wasteland manual. So heads up, if you do buy this game and have zero knowledge about the lore or story or anything to do with Brian Fargo's brain, you will have absolutely no clue what the hell is going on. I speak from experience. That said, while there is no physical copy, in my dedication to playing this game, I found people mentioning a manual on Steam forums. They also mentioned how stupid it was that the Steam release not provide it. Which they have a point. That is stupid, and I got just as mad with them. Until I found another forum post saying that all you had to do was go into the game properties, search the local files, and what do you know? Manual. Along with it is a hint book, the paragraph book, a reference card, and a survival guide. Everything you could possibly need to play this game. So I take back my initial anger I felt. Thank you, InXile Entertainment. I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Now, for those of you that don't care for lore and story where you need to use your imagination a little bit, this game won't be for you. And that's fine, it isn't everyone's cup of tea, and I get that. However, for those of us that eat this up, we are in for an absolute treat. The manual gives you the whole backstory to the game, offering the explanation as to how the Wasteland came to be. I won't be going over that here, as this video is already going to be a doozy. I'm going to have to format this review a little differently than I would most others, simply to try and keep it as unbiased as possible while also being honest to my opinion on the game. So, if we're looking at this game from the eyes of someone that knows nothing about Wasteland or Brian Fargo, and that has never played a tabletop RPG in their life, this game would be an absolute waste of money and time. Without knowing how to access the manual, there is no real way of knowing or understanding the game's story or objective. The title screen offers some explanation if you wait long enough for it to show, but even then, it isn't entirely descriptive. The characters you're given have amusing names, but their stats aren't explained well. Their skills are left to interpretation, and overall, it's just hard to grasp what the game is trying to convey. When I first opened up the game and started playing, the only thing I felt I could contribute to the positive was that the soundtrack was goddamn gorgeous. Taking the perspective of a player that has no knowledge, I can see them giving up almost immediately. The chance encounters are so close together, understanding the need to click on your skills to use them instead of just pressing a button to investigate is not intuitive, and overall the game is just incredibly difficult. To this player, the game would be a loss of $6 and possibly a negative review. And for this, as my unbiased review, I'd give Wasteland a 3 out of 10. Now, to the players that have played tabletops, that can play a game and tell that there is more to it than meets the eye, and is willing to do some investigating, this game is for you. After finding the materials that are needed to play this, you can finally sit down, open the game, and enjoy Wasteland as it was meant to be played. By trial and error and very unforgiving encounter systems. It takes some open-mindedness and understanding that this was just how games were in the 80s. To hold it to today's standards would be unfair. I'm judging and reviewing this game on how it was meant to be played, with the manual, hint book, reference, and survival guide. So with all that in mind, here's my honest opinion of the game. The lore is well thought out. The manual does wonders to explain what is going on in the game and what the stats, skills, and attributes are and do. It gives you the foundation required in order to play the game and move forward, which again, to reiterate, is how the game was meant to be released. The hint book provided in the local files gives you maps of the locations as well as an in-character guide system to help you know what all is needed to be done. It references character names that are not the default ones that you get starting the game, which does make it mildly confusing for the first few seconds, but if you read on, you do find that some of these characters in the hint book are the relatives of the main base character sets you are given when first loading in. Now that I was fully equipped with the knowledge provided, I felt comfortable setting forth to play the game and see what it was truly about. I found myself referencing the hint book just to be sure that I wasn't skipping over any key details, which some may find as a crutch, but to my completionist heart, I deeply appreciate. At first I wasn't bothered by the encounters, but soon it became clear that resting to heal was going to be a challenge, and the price for the infirmary is pretty up there when first starting out. Not only is the healing mechanic slow, but if you are in an area where encounters can occur, then you're essentially shit out of luck. Creatures will attack you, doing you more harm than they would have if you had just started to head back towards a safer area. I found this mechanic to remind me a lot of Bloodborne, as my tactic became to move forward, fight a couple monsters, get back to a safe area and heal, radio to see if I could level up, more on that later, and then move forward again until I felt strong enough to not die. Maybe an imperfect tactic, but it's the one that I had chosen to go for. But let's talk about that leveling system. It's an interesting one to say the least. As far as I understand, there isn't any way to see when you are due to level up or any sort of tracker. So you're left to just radio in to your superiors to ask for that big promotion until they finally say yes. I'm still undecided on the specific mechanic because on the one hand it's interesting and something I hadn't seen before, but on the other, not knowing how long you have to grind just to progress without things being too difficult can get a bit frustrating. The only saving grace to that is that radioing in costs you nothing, so you're free to do as much as you like. While playing the game, I found myself actually focusing on strategy, which if you haven't watched any of my Let's Play videos, there isn't much to begin with. It was nice to try to think ahead to see if I could learn any patterns or figure out what exactly I needed to do to progress, even if it did mean dying and retrying multiple times. You need to have strategy with every single step, including when the right time to save your game is. It's a game that's frustrating but fun if you have the basic knowledge needed, and I found myself excited to get back to it and film and wanting to play it just because. While I was recording footage for this video, I was also just enjoying myself and the game, which I can't say the same for my 7 Days to Die review, which is odd because I state in that video that it is one of my favorite games to play, and yet I had more fun filming this than that game. This game gets 2 ratings, as I said before, one for those that have never played anything like this and have zero RPG knowledge, and one for those that do. And for those that do, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. There's a good game in this if you're willing to find it, but the fact that you have to find it at all seems a bit ridiculous in today's context. However, if you remind yourself that this wasn't made for today's technology, it really balances that argument out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments below what you thought of the game if you played it. You can also let me know if you would like to see more reviews or what other games you would like me to review. And of course, don't forget to like the video and share it as well. This channel is not going to grow unless it's seen by more people, and with the algorithm being the way it is, I have only you to rely on at this point. I'm a small baby channel. I ain't got much, but I have you. Thank you again, and I hope you all have an amazing day.